Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We got a cluster of individuals today. And with that being said, I did want to give the mic to Charles to give an update as we've had one of our HBCU individuals move to the ancestral rank.
Sure thing, Dr. Cavil. Starting off a bit on a bit of a sad note today is Jackson State University put out a statement that they are deeply saddened by the passing of alumnus and former interim president, Dr. Rod Page. He rose from a teacher and coached as the first African-American U.S. Secretary of Education. In 1988, he was inducted into the Jackson State Sports Hall of Fame for his leadership as a head football coach from 1964 to 1968. Dr. Page inspired many, and we are grateful for his enduring impact. Our prayers and heartfelt condolences are with his family. Of course, Dr. Page, of course, spent time at Texas Southern as well. So great guy in terms of getting an opportunity to meet with him on several occasions and talk with him. And you know, that's a huge loss for the HBCU community.
Certainly is. He went to, in terms of education, being an educator all his life, as I've told many folks, and we've heard before, coaches would be better coaches if they would become great teachers, and teachers would be better teachers if they become great coaches. He had the ability to do both, and then transition into leadership as a coach, athletic director, dean, superintendent, and then went into the leadership at the highest level of education, becoming the department chair of Department of Education, leading the country. So you're right. Also had same faults with his time here at Texas Southern University, the Roderick Education.
Yeah.
Building Roderick Page, for that is named after his honor, that I serve as the dean of this college. So yeah, a lot of connections there. Some folks that have mentored me, I won't say their name because I hadn't asked for permission, certainly have connected me with him in terms of what that looks like. So momentous in terms of how he felt. Let's take a moment of silence before we get into it. With that, let's get back into it. Wanted to open up. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk in terms of who many people perceived before the game was played on Saturday, and hopefully folks have thought a little differently after the game was played Saturday, but maybe people still allowed to have their feelings in terms of what they perceived as the top two teams. And I don't bring that up to take a dig at anybody, but it's come across social media platforms. A lot of people have talked about it in some of the platforms. Shout out to Avis, who is one of the individuals that we know over the years can make things go viral.
Just over the years?
Yeah. Facebook, which people said is dead, but it lets you know who a lot of our fans are to talk about that. But with that being said, wanted to go down the breakdown in terms of what would a division look like if it was just all division, because the schedule still is the same with 18. But what would the play thing stand up? So if you would pull it up in terms of the full standings, this is the order of standings. You still would have three teams at 7-1. So you would have to have a tiebreaker scenario. And so if you would, let's bring up the 3-team tiebreaker scenario so folks can see that clearly. The only addendum that was made here is this is a 3-team scenario that looks at divisions. Obviously, with the single standing, there would not be divisions. And so I made sure that the divisions were taken out so you can see that clearly. And you have some same things here head to head. There is one line that's taken out of here because it talks all about divisions, so that doesn't flow. But instead of using divisions, you use overall conference standings. Essentially, this year, if you got to it, while G would be the coin flip, which Commissioner talked about his concerns that if you're not careful, you could still get to the point where it'd be a coin flip. And how would you want to be pulling two teams in the playoffs based on what you've seen across conferences? And as they look at the CFP playoffs, there's been a lot of talk in terms of what that looks like and concerns. So I thought it was intriguing. So I just kind of wanted to open up, since he spoke on it with his open address. When I say he, Dr. Charles McCullin, the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But this is the challenge. And I've told a lot of folks, and I told Avis, I said, I did the numbers. I said, be careful what you wish for, Avis. Because if you go back to the standings, utilizing those tiebreakers, what you see here is what would have been the outcome in terms of the finish. It still would not have provided you Alabama State and Jackson State. And so unless you just are one of those individuals that just does not like it played out on the field and you just want to select who you believe are the best two teams, even this year, if you use that tiebreaker, Jackson State, who played for a championship last year that had every right based on what they did, beating a team head-to-head, that would have actually should have had the tiebreaker, if you look at it in terms of divisions, would have been left out. Prairie View would have been traveling to Alabama State to play a championship because the tiebreakers that you would have looked at would have been point differential. And Jackson State had a lower point differential against the three common opponents that were in this case in terms of those teams and what that looks like, which have been Alabama A&M, two common opponents actually, Alabama A&M and Mississippi Valley. And so that would have been the tiebreaker. So hopefully we can put that to bed, concentrate on this Cricket Celebration Bowl. So
never.
As we do that, let me go to you, Charles. What's on your mind in terms of this week?
Well, obviously we got some coaching change down there in Tallahassee. Looks as though Florida A&M, they moved on from James Colsey. So we'll see what exactly the future holds with regards to Florida A&M football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as it's going. That's one of those things that people kind of thought this may be coming. Now that it's here, the next question is who's next in line. Obviously, fan favorites be Quinn Gray, but he did so well. It wouldn't surprise me that he's on the opportunity. Obviously, the AD that they have announced won't start to January 1st. So how does that play what this looks like in terms of the selection? So It may not be just a automatic thing. And obviously, while you would think Quinn Gray would want to go home, obviously he wants to go home in the right conditions. So it'd be interesting to see what that looks like in terms of that as well. So let me go to you, Mike. What's on your mind this week?
So I was looking at it's a little off base, but Livingstone, Salisbury, North Carolina based HBCU Livingstone, they received an anonymous yet transformational, I guess, boost, adding to a remarkable run of support that they have. This latest gift was $5 million donation. Now I got to give three sources of credit here. There was one on LinkedIn There was one on, of course, HBCU game day. And then there was one link that I had at HBCU. So I had to make sure that it was, but they received a set of numerous gifts from donors. So this should be very good for Livingstone. I know that doesn't have to do with what we have coming up this weekend, but it kind of caught me when, you have, Miss McKenzie giving all this money to universities all, across the land. And now the donation, to Livingstone is very interesting, and all of their donations. So, and the timing really is more important. So I think that news kind of stuck out me, the timing of it.
Good stuff. Let me go to you, Dave. And while you're doing that, go ahead. I believe you should have another one backstage, Alan.
Yeah, I'll bring him in.
Okay. But what's on your mind today?
Yes. Shout out to Lewis Walker from North Carolina A&T. He's the CAA Rookie of the Week. He played a major role in defeating the school down the road on Saturday with his first career double-double. He finished with 18 points on 5 of 9 shooting from the field, 8 for 10 shooting from the charity stripe, and adding a season-high 14 rebounds. The freshman guard had 14 points earlier in the week in a setback against Charlotte. For the week, Walker's averaged 16 points and 8 rebounds while shooting 9 for 20 from the floor and 13 to 16 from the free throw line. So shout out to him. I just wanted to throw that little jab to that school down the road. So that was an opportunity to do so.
You did that. I caught an article that talks about Howard and A&T playing at Duke, Cameron, and
if the game is
that was the initial place where they played the CIAA championship,
the MEAC championship
when they first opened things up. So that was pretty big to see that news.
Yeah, that game's live right now on HBCU Go.
Oh, nice. So y'all get to talk about it tomorrow on the Indie Show.
Absolutely.
That being said, let me go to Wilton. Wilton, what's on your mind? Wilton, you can smile, man. I know it's just not hard. But you don't have to come on here all hard.
First start up. Wilton came in Kappa-like form with the little deep cut sweater and the tie. His typical Kappa-like form. All he needed to do was a shimmy, and it would have just set off.
What a game!
If I ever see Wilton shimmy, I'm gonna have a problem.
If you in Atlanta, I want to see you take a shot and do a shimmy. I want to see your shimmy.
You might get both of them in Atlanta this weekend. you might get both.
You might be doing a lot of drinking this weekend.
All right.
What's on your mind, Wilton?
So I was going to announce talk about the MEAC announced their offensive defensive players of the year. North Carolina Central University quarterback Walker Harris and South Carolina State University defensive back Jared Washington were named the 2025 MEAC offensive and defensive player of the years. Walker Harris and Jared Washington exemplify the excellence, competitive spirit, and leadership that define MEAC football, said MEAC Commissioner Sanjay Steele. Their performances all season long elevated their teams and captivated fans across the country. We're proud to honor them on a national stage and celebrate everything they represent for the universities and for our conference. Harris is one of the nation's most productive quarterbacks, delivered a standout season for North Carolina Central. He appeared in 12 games and completed 234 of 375 passes for 3,214 yards, leading the MEAC and ranking 5th in the FCS. He threw 24 touchdowns, the most in the conference, and 15th nationally, while finishing 2nd in MEAC completion percentage. Harris also led the league in passing yards per game, points responsible for passing yards, completion, and total offense. As far as Washington, he was a dominant presence in the secondary and anchored a South Carolina State defense that powered the Bulldogs to their 2nd consecutive MEAC championship and a berth in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. A finalist for the 2025 Buck Buchanan Award, Washington produced one of the nation's most impactful defensive seasons. In Week 12, he earned Stats Perform FCS National Defensive Player of the Year, Player of the Week, after a sensational performance in a win over Howard, becoming only the FCS player this season and one of few in recent years to record 6 passes defended in a single game, a feat he achieved twice.
My Kimbo.
Claim it. 80 Drew, I imagine you just focus on the Cricket Celebration Bowl, trying to take a deep breath. How things going? Great job on getting Charles straight on the media presser that was held on Monday. Shout out to Charles.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Doc.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about the CIAA
HBCU go basketball in there?
Yeah, yes. I was gonna talk about that, but I am gonna pivot since you made me pivot right there. You guys had a chance to watch that. Did you guys get any interesting sound bites? And I'm gonna be honest, with Chennis Berry and Tremaine Jackson, I was just waiting on it and waiting and waiting. And both coaches did a great job staying on message on day one.
Yeah.
So
They're still
I just want to throw it out there and leave it to you guys. But Coach Tremaine Jackson did bring up one very interesting point. He said basically in so many words, Frank Sinatra, he did it his way. He talked about his troubles at Valdosta State, trying to listen to everybody, uh, do things the way that the alumni, the president, and everybody else wanted during this changing time in athletics. You know, he mentioned that the way they wanted to do stuff, it used to work. Ask Notre Dame about that. Anyway,
Message.
Yes.
but it didn't work for him the first year, and he said, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out doing it my way. Y'all gonna have to let me do it my way, or we gonna have to do it. They let him do it his way. Henceforth, 2 years later, national championship game for Valdosta State. I thought that was the most interesting thing between the two coaches. Both coaches had great stories throughout the press conference. So I just leave it right there.
Yeah, it's good. I'll do this. I normally won't do this, but I thought the point that they made that they were two Omega men coaching their respective institutions was another one that at least Omega Psi Phi fraternity national headquarters caught a hold of that and was really excited about what that looked like. And so I'll acknowledge that, you know, over here in the black and gold.
I'm just saying, I don't want no stepping in the end zone because they done had that.
I mean, you only got to worry about it with South Carolina
They getting on
State.
the field,
You
Mike.
should be happy if South Carolina State's going to be the one that's going to do it.
Hey, don't.
Hey, man.
They're the one that known to do it.
If
Slow your roll. You're not in the MEAC no more. You don't have to carry the water for the MEAC.
See?
Hey, let me go to Alan
I'm not
Williams,
carrying the water for them at all right now.
previous host of the 1876 Sports and Culture. And speaking of dancing and stepping in the end zone, I don't know if it was in the end zone, but Mike is caught in terms of a great pitcher jumping as if he's about to do a ace level step that he is known for. So with that being said, part of the 1876, Mike does both double duties. Mike, with that being said, let me go to you, Alan. What was your thoughts in terms of the championship game, your experience of being able to cover it, particularly from the sidelines, taking pictures of flip and everything?
Well, I will have to say that, you know, in our governance formation, Jackson, Mississippi never disappoints. I didn't.
Never.
I mean, the hospitality, I did not have a bad piece of fish that whole weekend, man. They had something called pan trout in the stadium. I about lost my mind, man. Whew, I'm telling you. Jackson set us out. You know, I really enjoyed the atmosphere, the back and forth with the bands. You know, leading up, you know, Coach Tremaine Jackson had his old Negro spiritual. Atlanta is the land of the purple and gold. Yes. I'm here for all of that. I can't wait. I will arrive in ATL Hartsfield Airport Thursday evening, and Mike and I have booked reservations at Spa and Divots that so we will kick this thing off right. So we are really looking forward to enjoying this pre-Christmas atmosphere, and Mike did tee it up for Kim for Christmas. If she don't get that picture blown up, that's the easiest gift known to man. She could just get that, send that to Vistaprint, get the Groupon, and call it good.
That's right.
Yeah, right. I told her I just want one for my office just so I can say I know the dude.
I got a spot on the wall for him.
Exactly. Let's take our first break, come back on the other side, and let's get into it. Let's get into this matchup. I'm not sure what direction y'all want to go in, but it is so much information, so many ways that you can look at it. And we'll see what that looks like on the other side. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit the celebration.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's go ahead and bring up the presentation of the game. After we released our poll rankings this past Sunday, this is a matchup that features the number 1 team versus the number 2 team. I have the number 1 team as South Carolina State, while we have the number 2 team as Prairie View A&M and the Panthers. And when you talk about the records there, you have South Carolina State coming in at 9 wins, 3 losses overall, 5-0 in the conference play. You have Prairie View that has jumped with the win in the SWAC championship game to 10 wins, 10-3, 7-1 in conference play. Pretty amazing when you think about it in terms of what that looks like. But wanted to get into some of the dialogue here and bring up some data for you all to consider when we look at the first framework, if you would, is tape. Let's just look at that. Where you have scoring offense, you have South Carolina State at 32 points per game, Prairie View at 31 points per game. On the scoring defense, 26 for South Carolina State and Prairie View 16. And then you have rush 135. Prairie View A&M rush offense is 197. Rush defense for South Carolina State is 131. Rush Defense is 138. Pass offense 286 for South Carolina State. Pass offense for Prairie View at 233. Pass defense is a 186, 128. And then when you look at red zone efficiency is always intriguing, particularly when you talk about 37 and 44. The South Carolina State, the Bulldogs there with 26 touchdowns. Prairie View 46 for 54 with 37 touchdowns. Red zone defense on the other side of that is 19 for 27, only allowing 10 touchdowns for the Bulldogs, while you have Prairie View 23 of 27 and allowing 14 touchdowns. We'll go through a bunch of data, so I'm only going to pick up a couple of people as we go through this instead of just going through everybody on the same question. But I want to start with you, Charles, being at this matchup and being there live, obviously seeing that matchup with Jackson State and South Carolina State. New teams, but you're familiar with that surrounding. What are your thoughts in terms of what is the first data point that you want to look at when you start talking about this matchup?
South Carolina State's passing offense versus Prairie View secondary. What jumped out for me with regards to Prairie View was the way their DBs, they attached themselves to Jackson State's receivers. There was very little room. I was very impressed by Prairie View's secondary during the course of the season, but even more impressed in the SWAC championship game. So I think that's one of those things, just that matchup alone jumps out. And then the secondary part of that is, Jackson State, through the course of the season, they were able to get to the quarterback. I think they were third, if I'm not mistaken, in the conference in sacks. But this South Carolina State defensive line, they come after quarterbacks, 31 sacks on the season. How will Prairie View's offensive line hold up with regards to dealing with South Carolina State's front seven?
I'm going to go to you, Wilton, in terms of your thoughts on this. Before I go with Alan and Prairie View, and Mike from a Prairie View lens, I want to get your outside of this, obviously, just coming from what you saw from the championship game. What stands out to you in terms of this particular matchup?
We saw that even if Prairie View's rushing attack is not strong, Cameron Peters is going to pick up in that category, and he did absolutely that on Saturday. Because, you think about it, I was actually looking at the stats. Prairie View, in terms of running the ball, they finished the game with 130 yards, but a good portion of that, 100 of them came from Cameron Peters. So when you think about that and what he was able to do, I felt like coming into this game, I felt like if Jackson State could kind of neutralize that part of the aspect versus him being able to pass the ball, I thought they had a chance. And absolutely, Cameron Peters made them pay, specifically like in those short second down and manageables and then third down opportunities where he picked up on to keep drives going. So I think that for South Carolina State, it's going to definitely have to be able to stop Cameron Peters in that rushing attack. And specifically, if Lamar J. McDowell or Chase Beeman get going, they're going to have to be able to shut that down as well. And I say that, too, because I hadn't seen a team all season really limit Jackson State the way that Prairie View did on third down. Jackson State had, they finished 2 of 10 on third down in that game. I'm looking at the stats. No other team held them to that low of a percentage on third down conversions this season. And you're still talking about the Southern Miss game, an FBS opponent. And you think about some of the other games, the loss to Grambling, they still had 8 first downs picked up. So that says a lot about what Prairie View was able to do. So I think that if you William Atkins IV, you want to make sure you get the ball out because you don't want to have Prairie View's defense coming at you that fast.
Yeah, you can pull that one down, Dave. I'll resend the PowerPoint. It should be in that email, but that's fine. I'll resend it. But let me go to you before you pull that up. Also, outside from this framework, obviously, what do you see in terms of this matchup, Dave?
I think for me, we've had the dialogue about rust, the SWAC only having a week. We saw how South Carolina State came out last season against Jackson State. Kind of looked lethargic coming out, but it's been a month since they played some ball. So I'm kind of fascinated to see what they're going to look like. I don't think South Carolina State can afford to start slow against Prairie View this weekend. They cannot afford to do that with that defense. So that's one thing I'm going to pay attention to within the first quarter of that game is whether or not South Carolina State is up and alert and ready for that phenomenal defense that Prairie View has.
Let's take our first break and come back on the other side and get back into it. I'm going to go from a Prairie View side in terms of Alan and Mike, and then we'll let Drew get in here and get his thoughts on some of this as well. Let's come back right after this second break.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We have a full team as we are in Cricket Celebration Bowl mode. The big championship game, big bowl game here, 1 versus 2. We have the Bulldogs versus the Panthers. Bulldogs out of the MEAC, that's South Carolina State, and the Panthers are the SWAC, that's Prairie View A&M University. South Carolina State is back for their second year in a row, third time at it, and Prairie View's here for the first time. With that being said, let me go to you, Mike. What are your thoughts coming in this game after your experience of seeing how Prairie View played in the championship game?
Here are my thoughts, and I asked Coach Jackson this in the press conference. Wow, another SWAC championship, first one since 2009. You know, how you going to get this team focused? And without question, without hesitation, he said, you know, this is our next goal. So I want to see how they come out the tunnel. If you look at how they came out that tunnel in the SWAC championship, it was all seriousness. It was all business. So I want to see how they come out. We've talked about the X's and O's and all the numbers. You want to see how the law firm, aka running back committee of Bingham and McDowell do. But I think my fellow Kappa brother there, looking at debonair as he is, he hit a nail on the head. All the proponents have said, yeah, these guys are getting 200 yards a game, and that's accurate. It's actually 197.96. And AD, that's significant digits, FYI. So, but you got to count for Cameron Peters, and I think that's big. How big are the quarterbacks going to be in this game? Here, you got 2 quarterbacks that played lights out and gotten better as the season progressed? Are they going to be able to step on that big stage and carry it to the next level? Then you talk about defense. You talk about South Carolina State's defense, 240, 200 some odd yards of passing. Both quarterbacks have 2,300 yards passing, give or take. But it's that X factor that they're going to bring to the game. Can they bring that to the game? Both. The other thing is physicality. Which team is going to be the most physical defense? You've seen how physical Prairie View did. Would you ever think that they would hold Jackson 24 yards in the first quarter?
No way.
By not only practice but by history that South Carolina State brings defense. So you want to see which defense is really going to be able to enforce its will and force the other team to be really truly one-dimensional. So those are the data points that stick out in my mind. So Wilton, I'm sorry, I keep looking at that time, that cut. You are on.
I appreciate it, Mike.
I'm gonna go to you, Alan. Mike talked a little bit about the quarterbacks, and he's actually right. It's amazing how close they are in terms of their overall stats in a lot of ways. Billy Atkins for South Carolina State Bulldogs, 164 of 262 for 2,323 yards, 17 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, 62% completion rating. Look at Cam Peters, 162 for 255, 2386, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 4 in one game, 2 tipped, 63 completion percentage. So they're right there. But both of these teams want to run the ball. What are your thoughts in terms of the rushing attack and what they bring to the table with a stable of backs? Obviously, Chase Bingham was freshman of the year, bringing in a lot of work, and South Carolina State has a lot of talent over there as well, particularly with Tyler Smith putting in a lot of work when you talk about 105 rushes for 490 yards, 5 touchdowns. Where are you with that part of the game?
Well, what I want to pay attention to is that third down efficiency. That third down efficiency is going to be key because that's how you keep your defense rested. If you cannot have that third down efficiency, your defense is going to struggle. The 3 key players that I want to look at from Prairie View side, and I call it, this is going to be head or gut. You're going to get something. Cam Peters, Chase Bingham, and Josiah Rockwell. Somebody is going to go off. Now, the question is, which one? Last weekend, we saw Cam go off. I think Chase Bingham is due.
Yep.
And given this defense from South Carolina State, this rush defense of South Carolina State, I got a feeling that you will see a heavy dose of Chase Bingham. Now, on the South Carolina State side, man, Tyler Smith, we got to put him in a box. You're gonna have to bring 8 men up in the box, man, because otherwise he is gonna nickel and dime you to death. So if I'm focusing on one stat for this game, it's gonna be third down efficiency. Number 2 will be discipline and turnovers. Discipline and turnovers almost cost Prairie View that SWAC championship game. You had that fumble on the 1-yard line. You had some key takeaways that your defense was able to overcome, but you've got to take care of that ball in this championship game. This is the first time these 2 teams have met ever, and you cannot come in here giving anybody momentum with turnovers.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let me go to you, AD, in terms of as you collecting all this data from all this stuff, so you know this, but I want you to look at the receivers, South Carolina State secondary from that perspective, and then I'm going to come back to Charles and let him look at the opposing framework of South Carolina State's receivers against Prairie View defensive back. But for you, AD, when you think about Prairie View's receivers, Alan talked a little bit about Raquel that really has been coming on late, particularly had a big play, didn't get in the end zone, but came down with some huge passes that really set up big plays and field goals and a couple of touchdowns. But you also have Dennis and Bonner who are playing some good games. Jones is the tight end, but they're up against Washington, the defensive player of the year that we just talked about. That's Gerard and Henry, Reed, Scott, and Jones in terms of those guys that pull it up with interceptions, sacks. Tackle for losses, where are you in terms of looking at the pass receivers for Prairie View against the defensive backs of South Carolina State?
Number one, let's look at yak. Let's look at yak yards and see if those South Carolina State defenders can keep those catches to a minimum. That's number one. Number two, watch the flares and everything out of the backfield. Not only the receptions out of the backfield, but when they run those jets, those bubbles, things like that. First of all, how do they set those up? Are those set up off of play action, which means you have to have a good running game, or are they just trying to out athlete South Carolina State? If Prairie View is going to try to out athlete South Carolina State, Prairie View is going to be in for a long day. You've got to mix it up. You have got to do things to keep them honest, which is going to be that run game for South Carolina State. So, and you're talking about one of the best defenses in the MEAC. So, what's going to give in this particular game? Do we have an interception? Do we have a fumble after a catch? Something like that. One last thing, and I'm gonna turn it over. Said it last week. Said this week. Look at those yards between the 40 and the 25 when you're in plus territory. What comes out of those yards? Fourth down conversions, field goals, or continued first downs, which lead to touchdowns. That's where the game is going to be won and lost, between the plus 40 and the plus 25.
Check this out. On the other side, I want us to go with the defensive fronts and what that looks like against the offensive line of each team. So I'm going to let everybody jump in there and give us a little thoughts on that. But as you talked about the turnovers and opportunities, look at the tail of the tape from this perspective. Turnovers forced for South Carolina State, 19. That's 5 fumbles and 14 interceptions. For Prairie View, 19, but that's 10 fumbles and 9 interceptions. Turnovers committed. Obviously, the other side of the ball, you got to take care of the ball to be in championship, and these teams have pretty much done it. Both of them have 15 turnovers, 8 in terms of fumbles for the Bulldogs, 7 interceptions, really splitting it there. When you look at Prairie View, 6 fumbles and 9 interceptions. Penalties per game, looking at 6 time of possessions. They're pretty average, equal on that, as the Bulldogs were 32 and 18, while Prairie View were 31 and 15. Sacks allowed. South Carolina State is able to get it done on the sack side, 33, where Prairie View at 19. But sacks gained, they also give up quite a bit when you talk about the Bulldogs at 31, when you just have 8 for Prairie View, which makes sense when you think about the clean pocket that Cam has been able to deal with. But third down conversions, we had Alan asked about that, 47% for South Carolina State and 43% for Prairie View. Opponents' third down conversions, how do you stop them? Bulldogs stop it at 30% clip, while Prairie View stops it at a 28% clip. We'll be back after our last break here. Come back and ask you to look at the trenches, where these guys will tell you championships are won. I wanted to save that so you can really get into it. And Charles, we're going to come back and bring you to talk about your thoughts on the trenches. You said that earlier about the SWAC championship game.
Yeah. And I got one intangible to kind of throw out when we come back as well.
All right. We'll let you do that right after this next break.
Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBC Sports Lab. You can take down the PowerPoint. Let's bring everybody front and center so we can get right into this dialogue and get to it. Let me give you some names, and I wanted to get into Charles' thoughts before I actually get that names and matchups. Let me go ahead and hear your intangibles that you want to get on the table before we start talking about these defense and offensive fronts.
Well, I think the big thing, is keeping the main thing the main thing. As we all know, this is an event atmosphere.
It's a bowl game. It's a bowl game, exactly. Which means there's a lot of responsibilities that drive coaches crazy.
Precisely, exactly. So I think that's one thing to sort of keep in mind in terms of South Carolina State has been there, done that. I think Jackson State actually learned a tremendous lesson from 21 to 22. I think 21, the makeup of the roster was a lot of guys transferred in, and the bowl was sort of lanyap, if you will. The hard lift was the SWAC championship. But I think that was a huge lesson that was learned from 21 to 22. So, how does Purview react? First time going to all the things that are going on that surround the Celebration Bowl. I think that's one thing that you can kind of, put a feather in South Carolina State's hat in terms of they've been there, done that. So that's one big thing. But I think, that's something to kind of keep an eye on. But I think the other, something is just, and I've said this before, just winning matchups. I think Jordan Smith versus Eric Zachary is going to be a tremendous matchup to just sit up and watch during the course of that game. I thought Eric Zachary did a phenomenal job of shutting down Jackson State's big play receiver. So, and he's one of those guys, not a lot of interceptions, but he's always pasted to a receiver. So if you can, eliminate one of those threats with regards to South Carolina State, it makes that 3-5 that much more formidable.
Yeah, I think you make some excellent points. As we talked about earlier, you hosting the media for the coaches' interviews earlier. That's one of the main questions I had for Coach Jackson was that. And I think it's interesting him in his response talking about not only did they make the playoffs last year, that they got deep and played for a championship game. I think he has a lot of the experience about being in a bowl-like or championship experience, playing a week after playing a championship game. So he's going to bring that to the table. I think it'll be, to your point, how do the players rely on that? How are they attuned to the message and not allow themselves to get caught up in the light? So I think that is an intriguing question in terms of what that looks like, and something to keep our eyes on, as we'll be in that area. So we get to see a little bit of it. We saw it literally 4 years ago with Jackson State in terms of how they allowed that bowl opportunity and focus. And then you turn around last year and how it changed for the positive for them. But let's look at the linebackers and defensive line from South Carolina State versus the Prairie View offensive line. You got Ty Brown, Pedro Da Silva, Calvin McMillan, Caden Bowers, Jeremiah Mawali, who, as you said, have allowed very few sacks that we just talked about earlier there. But they're up against the defensive line and linebackers, such as Mike Lunez, the second, Kayvon Chisholm, Jordan Dollard, Jordan Franklin, and Josh Baker will be in the mix. Let me go to you, Wilton. What are your thoughts in terms of that frontline matchup?
No, this is going to be a good one. I'm not going to lie to you. Considering that, Prairie View has been able to it's definitely going to be a good one, and certainly one to watch, just because like the way that Prairie View's been able to run the ball, and more specifically against Jackson State, what Cam Peters was able to do. But again, seeing the fact of defensive end Mike Luns, I think he's going to be very, very, very beneficial for South Carolina State.
6'3", 245, brother.
Yeah. And he's gonna have to have a strong game for South Carolina State in terms of being able to help really stop or slow down Prairie View's rushing attack. And then of course you have some others on that line in Chisholm and Franklin and Barker. But I think if you're Prairie View, your offensive line, like I said, and me and Charles have kind of said this before, not too many teams have been able to actually run the ball. Weren't able to run the ball against Jackson State, and they were able to do it. And so while South Carolina State, in terms of their rush yards giving up amongst MEAC teams, which was about a little over 140, I expect them to tighten up. But this is what I'll say to this specifically beyond the stats. South Carolina State is a defense that allows teams to move the ball, but when in the red zone, they real tight. And if you remember in the SWAC championship with Prairie View, there were a lot of drives that Prairie View should have had touchdowns. If you're Prairie View, you absolutely have to get touchdowns versus field goals in this game. You want South Carolina State to have to play from behind.
I like that.
If they're constantly getting field goals, this is still very much a game.
I like that. Good points. In terms of that matchup, Dave, and then I'm going to flip it for you, Mike, and AD in terms of the other side. But, Dave, get your thoughts in terms of the front seven, if you would, for South Carolina State against that offensive line of Prairie View.
Prairie View's offensive line is massive, man. And it makes sense why they can run the ball the way that they do.
6'3", 315, 6'1", 335, 6'5", 328, 6'4", 340, 6'4", 340.
Them some big boys. That's NFL offensive lineman weight, okay?
6'3" and three-quarter average. I'm just gonna throw that out there. 6'3" and three-quarter average across the line.
Yeah, that's why it's going to be key. If Lunez does not have a good game here and cannot get to Cam Peters, and Cam Peters can run, which makes it even more dangerous, right? Yep. So it's going to be a long day with that line because they've done a phenomenal job protecting them all year.
Let's look at it. Coming to you, Mike. Get your thoughts on this. Prairie View's linebackers D-line versus South Carolina State offensive line. You talked about the size of Prairie View's offensive line. South Carolina State is a little smaller but quick. Roger Smith, MEAC, James Reddick, Moses, Warren, Marsh, and Trask for Chevy, if you would, in terms of the linebackers, D-lines for Prairie View. You got Al Sparks, Kennedy Parker, Daryl Sterling Roberts, and Malik Hukak. Mike, where are you going?
Yeah, you have a line that is by average distribution a little smaller, but they're a bend but don't break. I think you hit it on the nail. You hit the hammer. You hit the hammer right there when you said they may allow teams to get in the red zone, but if you look at their scoring percentage allowed in the red zone, and I couldn't get exact with this, they're truly the definition of a bend but don't break. I do agree that if Prairie View does not score touchdowns, it may be a long, long day. The other piece to that is runs between the ends and then the outside. So the teams that were successful were able to parse that defense, that end of the South Carolina defense, and to make effective runs. And what do I mean by that? Though, if you look at their distribution across the line, it's roughly somewhere between 6'2" and 3/4 and below 6'3" on average. A little smaller on average. I looked at 3 of their games, and I looked at key plays. I couldn't look at everything. I just don't have that much time. But they are susceptible to run on specifically on the left end and right end.
It's your job to look at everything.
Man, I don't have time to look at all of that. I looked at key data points, man. So you look at the ends, and you look at the ends, they're susceptible to runs on the end. So that's my analysis. It's not a complete data analysis, but I think that may be one point that do you run up the middle against these folks like most folks may try to do, or do you run against the ends or between the end and the sidelines? Because McDowell does have some speed. Do you have jet sweeps? Remember, Prairie View tried these reverse jet sweeps, pass option sweeps. Leave it to Coach Jackson to have some of that in. It's not going to be straight running up the middle against these guys. They're undersized, but they're very tough. But there's also the confusion of the cross-directional runs as well that kind of throws teams off.
Now you sound like you decided to get into the mood to talk about it. I had to talk about it a little bit and talk you up. You see that, Will? Just let him know, man. He's up there having one too many of them shots. They
really hadn't started yet, but
I told you, I knew it.
Let me bump for you, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
Key data point. Prairie View has only allowed 8 sacks in 13 games this season. That's one of the lowest sack totals in all of FCS. All right. According to the FCS sack data, our unit ranks 3rd nationally in the fewest sacks allowed per game at 0.58 sacks per game. All right. So I think on pass protection, advantage Prairie View. Now, the defensive end, Michael Luntz, the third that you talked about, now he's recorded 9.5 sacks along with 17.5 tackles for loss and 10 QB hurries. You are going to have some slide protection and double teams to keep him in the cut. If you don't have that protection figured out, it's going to be a long day.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Any final thoughts you have for us, 80 Drew, as we come to a close?
I'm going to tell you this. Obviously, I can only get so deep into this game because of what I have to do. But I'm excited about this because I've got new blood against old blood. And I've been around both of these coaches before, and they can coach their ass off, y'all. You've got an offensive line coach going against a defensive line coach, a former offensive lineman against a former defensive lineman.
The trenches.
And these people are where they want to be. I just need the people in purple and gold, the people in red and blue to be there to watch this, because we're excited here in Atlanta, y'all. We giddy about this, y'all.
I got a question, Doc, if you let me answer it. We talked about the players and the stats. Which coach has the most pressure?
Chennis.
Oh, absolutely, Chennis.
Chennis.
Yeah.
Chennis?
Oh, yeah. because he was just there last year, and they got beat pretty good last year.
And he's 0-3 in playoff games.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That point. He's 0-3 in
playoff games.
Yeah.
So
and T-Jack has done a time of
Champ.
thing in the playoff games.
And one other thing about that pressure, South Carolina State expects championships. They've got 20 MEAC championships. They've got a number of national championships. So the bar is raised for South Carolina State. No offense, Prairie View. If Prairie View doesn't come home with the hardware this year, there are going to be a lot of people in the Houston, Texas area who are going to be happy that they were there. You can't say that about Orangeburg, South Carolina.
In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Jackson State from the standpoint that the expectation is that they were going back. They booked rooms. You know, and so as that game got long and tighter, while you are used to Jackson State being able to do that, it gets a little more challenging when you have that weight as players in terms of those small things. So I agree with that in a lot of ways. It'll be interesting to see. Let's set it up as we get the close here. That's Saturday, December 14th, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. ABC.
Yeah, you let Wilton go. He let
No, he did the first thing.
Yeah, no, it was just one little small point I was going to mention. I know we've talked a lot about Prairie View's rushing attack, and the South Carolina State's rushing attack is kind of somewhat secondary to William Atkins IV. I just kind of feel like if South Carolina State is not able to run the ball legitimately, they could really be in trouble.
So
I definitely think they're going to put pressure on. I think Prairie View is going to be able to get pressure to Atkins, and if that's the case, they become very one-dimensional.
And Atkins is a statue back there. He does not run the ball.
Against North Carolina Central when
he does not
run the ball. If it wasn't for him being able to extend plays and get out there and make some big key third downs, he is a gamer though.
Yeah.
But you're right, it can get tough. I'm glad you pointed that out, Charles, and got Wilton in there. As we close it, number 1 South Carolina State Bulldogs 9-3, 5-0 versus number 2 Prairie View and Panthers. It's a MEAC versus SWAC affair, 1 versus 2, Saturday, December 14th, 11 a.m., 12 o'clock p.m., ABC. On Thursday, we will bring you a show, but we'll be doing it an hour early. We will be there inside the College Football Hall of Fame as they are getting prayer. That kicks off at 7 o'clock. We're going to do a show from 6 to 7. That is Eastern time, so 5 to 6 for the Central folks. Again, that's an hour early. We'll get you inside as Charles will be able to tell you a little bit about what's going on in terms of the champion circle dinner, which is always fun. Charles gets in tomorrow. He's on a little early flight. He can't wait to get there. So
Charles got work to do, man. He got to get in to get comfortable.
I wasn't going to try on that.
I'm walking around with Doc and Charles. Hey, Charles. Hey, Doc. Who is he?
That's because you don't show up on this show.
I show up when
got it.
Mike had to go to Brazil right quick.
He left the heat of the summer to come back to the cold of the winter. What you thinking about, Mike?
I'll be in there tomorrow, Charles. A little later, I have a provost celebration that I need to take advantage of early. So I'm leaving right after that. That's a
just throw that out there. I got a provost.
Mr. Brazil. Like he gonna call me up, Mr. Brazil.
And we don't mean Rob.
Dave, let's get out of here. Dave has another show. Make sure you tune in to Dave. What is the show? Tell him to tune in, Dave.
It's Panther Nation podcast. This is like the latest. The Carolina Panthers have been first in their division since 2017. So it's gonna be a good one.
He does it on the professional side, y'all, as well. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share your podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Watch out. Panther Nation is coming. That's going to be interesting. We got Allen and Mike coming in Thursday for this, Charles. You know, we usually Friday.
So we get going Thursday, huh?
Allen coming in Thursday.
Hey, don't act surprised. Don't strip.
I'm just saying. My fault.
Hey, man, we got our clothes laid out on the bed with the boots under them on the floor.
Hey, we're bringing the cowboy boots, the Stetsons, everything.
Oh, man, they coming full.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, Alan Williams, Wilton Jackson II, A.D. Drew David Rhodes in the building Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Remember, we'll go an hour early next week. On Thursday, and then we'll have the recap on Sunday to let you know who is the Cricket Celebration Bowl winner, therefore National HBCU Major Division Champion. With that, call it a close. We'll say dream big, continue moving forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Everybody else?
Dismissed.
I like that.